You're alive.
Good morning. It's February 11th. It's a meeting of the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust. And can we get a roll call, Mr. Shaw?
Yes, I'm looking for a roll call. Ms. Slavin,
Sandy Slavin.
Ms. Whiteside,
Jim Manise.
and the clerk Carl Schultz is here. So you're
All
gonna
right.
call the meeting to order at 9:04.
Thank you.
We have a quorum, so the meeting is called to order at 9:04.
Okay, minutes, review and approve. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes?
And I made, people who said, I made a updated, I fixed.
I saw that. I make a motion, we approve, accept the minutes of January 14th, 25. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. We'll get a vote.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I,
And aye. 4-0-0, is it?
And let me just remind you that the minutes, according to the Attorney General, you only need to list who made the motion, then you write the word seconded, and then you write the count.
Okay,
You
I
do
don't have
not
to-
need to do the rest of it.
fine.
Well,
I have to write the motion out though,
You
right?
have to write the motion and who made the motion.
Yeah, okay.
That's all
So
right.
motion by so-and-so seconded does not need to be there.
Okay, but I mean, if he does, it doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt. I'm just
Yeah. I just,
educating him and you.
yeah, well,
I usually write it down, who made the
myself
motion.
too.
Oh, I do too, but
Yeah.
it's not required.
And I think I put it in the minutes when I did them too, motion seconded. And that was for that, seeing we're on that, is that for all motions?
That's correct.
Kind of vague, but anyhow, I think.
Well,
I will
particularly.
continue the way I did it and you can. choose.
Yeah, particularly if you're on video, it doesn't matter because anybody can go back
Right.
and look at the video. In the olden days when we didn't have, you know,
Tablet and chisel.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Catherine Lacey, Katie Lacey is going to speak to us, and I'm expecting her online. Yeah, hopefully she can get through. Let me make sure I got my ringer on. Told her to text me if she couldn't.
And you could adjust the agenda.
Yeah.
if you want.
So we'll just skip that. She was going to talk to us about inclusionary housing. She's from Mass Housing Partnership. And so we'll jump to 4.2. And that would be rehabilitation grant discussion. As we know, I guess a lot of our properties are falling off the SHI for the rehabilitation housing. So I did stop and speak with Christine downstairs. Sullivan, is it?
Yes.
And works for COG, and they oversee our CBDG, which is Community Development Block Grants funding, and part of that is for rehabilitative housing. So that's one of the things we can also do here, a fund here through the Affordable Housing Trust.
It is part of our charter.
Right. So I spoke with her.
But just
Go ahead.
again, to clarify, if we do fund it, it does need a deed
Restriction.
restriction. I'm making sure that I understand.
I agree.
So even if it's a refurb, if we do it, they have to put a deed restriction on it. Okay, clarifying from my understanding.
No, that's, and I feel the same way, and so speaking with her, they haven't been putting the deed restrictions on the ones done through the office.
No, because the state would not accept them anymore. That's what we were told 2 years ago.
Say, could you expound on that? Wouldn't accept,
That the properties that took the temporary loan to fix them up from this, CD,
Yeah, the
CDBG.
CDBG. Yeah,
the
that's
state would
15
no
year.
longer accept them, which was why it was stopped several years ago.
Oh, okay.
I thought we still did that program.
Sorry?
I thought we still did that program.
We did, but the state is
We
not
do.
accepting it as our SHI list.
Okay.
Okay, so
Oh,
this is,
We
we've
can
gone
still do
through,
the deed restriction, it just doesn't end up on the SHI list.
No, it would end up on it as long as we had a deed restriction.
Sandy?
If
No,
we
she's
did it,
saying that
if we
if-
do it.
Yeah, but no, the
no,
state
no,
isn't
he's,
gonna count it.
Do a
sorry,
deed-
time out.
Excuse me.
If we, Affordable Housing Trust, gives the money out, then yes, it will go on affordable housing
Okay.
deed restriction
Even
and on
if
our,
we got the block grant,
I don't know what a block grant is.
It's our CDBG grant that the selectmen get.
The
The town gets it,
it.
but the selectmen,
yeah,
But
apportion
the
it, manage
state
it,
would
yeah.
not accept it, which is why the old ones are dropping off and the new ones have not gone on for 10 years.
So I look, I think it was since 2018.
Even longer,
Well, from my
whatever.
looking at
But
the
we
regulations.
tried years and
that
years ago to try to get them on. And it would not be, state would say, no, you can't,
Okay.
no, we won't count them.
So I spoke with Christine and I looked up some information and I don't know if it's still live on my computer. So it doesn't require it, but it doesn't say you cannot. But maybe HUD says, maybe because it's actually HUD who's overseen by the state.
Being, they control what goes on,
Right, so-
SHI. Yeah, cause if you
So
look,
I'm looking into that a little bit, and I've done a little bit of research on the documentation that the government provides. And also asked her about what would the cost be to administer our funding, if so, to just run it through their system. Because they're a separate company. So it would be charged to us separately unless the town wants to somehow do it. So just look, so,
I did reach out to the guy who she works for.
Yeah.
He never came, he never
Yeah.
responded, I invited him to, but good idea, I
So-
had a similar thought.
it's about, she said they usually get around $3,000 to do everything.
per house,
Yeah. That's all the administration, the documentation.
to put one dwelling on our SHI list.
Yeah.
$3,000.
Good business.
very good business.
Well, it's just like when someone does a home. It doesn't come out of our pocket, but they get a percentage on the sale. They have to fund their operation
Yes.
somehow.
But is it worth that money?
I don't know.
How far off are we on our SHI
We-
list?
Well, just for an example, nothing to do with the project. We're doing 50,000, right? For your project?
Yes,
And 150 through community preservation? Is that right?
And that
So that's 6
creates,
units
brand
in
new units.
perpetuity. But it doesn't matter if they're new or not.
But it
It's
creates 6
the only
livable
diff-
units.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you have one that isn't on it and it's costing you $3,000,
But that's no new unit.
yeah, it would be
That's-
odd because we would require the deed restriction.
No, it's not creating a new livable space.
Doesn't matter. Well, it does, but it doesn't. I understand what you're saying.
Cause I mean, that money could very well be used to help fund additional structures or living space as opposed to rehabbing one.
Yeah, some people need that. So if we're gonna offer that, there should be some kind of a mechanism to either deed restrict it, or what they say you can do with the HUD and what they do is put a lien on it. What's the difference between a lien and a deed restriction for a period of time?
Well, the
Maybe
deed
a
restriction
banker
is
with
in
this.
perpetuity.
It doesn't have to be.
right, you can make them.
Most of the
15.
time it's for 30 years because
Yeah.
you don't expect the structure to last that long.
But
Sorry.
The ones that we've been putting on
But
for
there is a time
CPC.
frame. Yeah.
My house better last more than 30 years.
No, but
So
there is a standard, there's a
maybe,
structure.
But your CPC ones are in perpetuity if you do CPC money.
And the ones we've done here have said in perpetuity.
Yes.
but they don't have to be.
Right, but they have
Well, what's,
been.
maybe you can answer me. What's the difference between a deed restriction and a lien? Because
The lien is
speaks to
put on,
both.
no, the lien is put on for a specific reason. You didn't pay your
There's a
tax
a
bills.
builder's lien, yeah.
And, or you didn't pay your builder, or you didn't pay your plumber, or whatever, and he can put a lien, or she can put a lien on the building when the thing has been cleared up, the lien is released.
So, and that's the same as what they can do, and I believe they're supposed to be doing. With the rehabilitation funding, is a lien on the property for a specified period of years. So if the individual or the family sells the home or wants to get out of it, they have to pay back the difference. And the loans are like 35, starting at 35,000 generally, up to 60 plus. She said 10 grand with a special permission.
You're talking about the ones from downstairs?
CBDG, yeah.
They're
So-
much smaller than that.
Well,
I mean, generally speaking, they've been like less than the
15,
10.
20,
Less than the 10, because they're
less than what?
10 or 15 at the most. I've never heard of one at 30.
It's for, if it's for septic system, it's for a roof, it's something very
Yeah.
specific,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, and it's not a,
It's
Or
a
it could be a
thing.
combination of, so someone can stay in their home.
yes,
Yeah.
something to
Right.
make the house livable,
Livable.
i.e. a
Correct.
failed
Right.
septic system,
Right.
a leaky roof.
Right,
So
I
those,
understand.
those loans were intended to take care of those,
And
But they don't
structural-
pay the difference back. They're forgiven over a period of
over a
time.
period, that's why
Yeah.
you have a lien on it.
Right. So,
So you record
if
that,
they-
you're supposed to record it.
right,
It's not the gift.
right. So
Yeah.
the lien stays for the 15 years of the
That's
term
right.
of the loan.
Yeah.
Each year, 1/15 of the loan is forgiven, if you will. If they sell a house at 7 years out, they owe the difference that
Correct.
has not yet been
That's what I
forgiven.
stated.
Yep.
So what's the difference between that and a 15-year deed restriction as a grant with the same conditions?
well, they don't have to, that 15, if they sell it within the 15 years, it must be affordable.
Yeah, there's no real
And
difference
there's nothing,
besides,
there's nothing to say a lien has to be sold affordable.
Yeah.
Right, that's the difference.
what's that?
There's nothing that says if the house has a lien that it has to be sold affordable.
But you have to meet, correct.
So that would be the difference.
So if they sold it non-affordable,
Yeah,
they had to pay the.
I'm gonna look into it more.
But as I said, it's been 10 years and we've been told
Yeah.
the state would not accept.
I'd like to try to do
This
something.
component.
Maybe you can't, but yeah, I get stuck on
I
something.
mean, think about
Anyhow,
all the ones they've issued in the last 10 years that are not in our list.
some good
And the others are
discussion.
just dropping off.
Anything there, Mr. Schultz?
No, it was discussion, I have nothing to add.
Thank you. This fiscal year 2026 is coming up. Would you be thinking about a funding request through CPC? And where we'd
Well,
like
if
to
you
go
want it
with
for the start of FY 56, the article must be in by the end of February.
Right, that's why
spring
we're
town
talking
meeting.
about it.
An article for spring town meeting,
Has to be on the 25th, right? That's when the warrant closes?
something like that, but this is our last meeting before that deadline.
What's that?
Deadline for the town meeting.
The
No,
deadline
When's the
for,
meeting?
this is
when-
our last Affordable Housing Trust meeting before the articles are
Well,
due for
unless we-
spring town
Unless
meeting.
we called another one. You said February what, 21?
5th is when the warrant closes.
February 28th, the warrant closes.
Well, you take things after that,
No,
those
we do
days.
not.
Yes, you do.
No, we
I've
do
seen
not.
it forever. I've
Well,
been around.
somebody else may have, but I do not.
Just a question on that point, Judith, point of clarification, are we having a special town meeting?
Yes, sir?
So the warrant closes for the special town meeting at a different time, is
That's
that correct? Okay,
Okay.
so
Well,
that may be how things.
Special spring could very well accommodate another grant request, another article, but we are running out of time to do it for spring town meeting,
Thank you.
for the FY 26 fiscal year.
So why would we even ask for money when we don't have a concept of what the purpose of this body
I
politic
have a
is?
very good concept of it. It's just getting people to take advantage of it.
Okay, the concept being,
Being to assist people and developers, small developers especially, into putting an affordable housing stock within the town so that we can keep pace with and eventually reach the 10% level. And to help people out. That's the purpose
Okay.
of the Affordable Housing Trust. We have a statement, if you want me, I'll pull it
no,
up
no,
and read it.
I've seen that.
Okay.
I just want it out there
Yeah,
that that is why this body would be looking for money.
correct.
The money that you were able to finally, by following the process, by the way, getting to the Woodland Cove individuals, that took, I don't know how long, 2 years, 3 years, something like that. But
Well,
that,
actually,
that was,
10 from when it was originally, no, I was being facetious, but yes.
Facetiously.
okay, but Jim followed the process and got it done. So was that a benefit to the town, to residents, to the purpose of this committee? And I think you have to, that would be my question.
Okay, but to step back then, for the purpose of the committee, one step back,
Mhm.
you have to go back to the law that the state created that established affordable housing trusts.
Mhm.
And the one under pinning of that law, and I'm not saying we've succeeded at that, was a recognition that CPC grant funds for affordable housing weren't getting distributed rapidly enough. And the law anticipated that creating these trusts would create a vehicle for more rapid distribution of those funds. So that,
Which goes into one of the things I think that Jim may have suggested, or that you accept the applications on a rolling basis as opposed to
Defined
you know,
timeframe.
the
we've
timeframe.
never held
Right.
anybody to that. It was,
I'm just saying that I thought I
So-
saw that someplace.
no, we did,
Yeah.
we discussed it at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Your question was, did we achieve one of our goals? Yes, we're assisting people who are under the 60% AMI with first month's rent, move-in costs and whatnot. And that is one of our charges or
Okay, now, how do you justify needing more money? We received 150,000 a year ago.
Right.
What have we earmarked for that 150,000? I only know of one project, Steve's.
correct.
So that was how
We have
many?
two projects.
Wait, sorry, that was for 150,000?
Correct, CPC.
So no,
No, from
From
us,
us.
50,000.
50,
50
only
from you.
50,000.
Yeah.
So that's $145,000 we haven't committed to anybody. You can't very well go back to the town and says, I want more money when I haven't
1,000.
no, sorry. I'm not doing my 140,000. I'm not doing my math. What are we giving you from here?
50, so there's 100,000 from that grant that's,
Up from the 150,000?
Correct.
Okay, so that's 50.
And that
Okay.
can be
The
gone in a
problem
snap.
is
So
that
I can't very well justify going back to the town saying I need more money when I haven't even allocated the 150.
the problem that I think Jim stated and that we all acknowledge is we're not getting enough applications fast enough. And if, we've said this, if Steve can get money just as quickly directly from the CPC and not more rapidly from us, we're not furthering our mission as effectively as we would like.
Part of our time frame is we require an affordable housing deed restriction, which takes a lot of time. CPC has to wait for the town to vote only twice during the year they could vote on it. We don't need to wait for that vote, but we have to wait for the affordable housing restriction, which is where the time frame has been to prevent him from getting his money.
So, let me ask, how much money do we have in the housing portion of CPC? Is it 300-something thousand dollars?
Unlimited,
No, I'm not talking about the
The
general.
the
I'm
un-
saying the housing
I
period.
didn't bring the spreadsheet. but
That's okay.
yeah,
No.
it's,
if you had asked, I would have been able to provide you that information as to what we had in the affordable housing reserve. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
The
But
CPC
alone.
affordable housing reserve? I do not have that figure at the top of my
I was
head.
online last night. Well, and that
You
was
won't see
probably
it
from
online.
2024 4 report.
You,
But you also, we have a couple $1 million, unless you spent more of it, in undesignated.
yes, there is about $4 million in CPC in
So-
various categories available.
But I would, what I'm suggesting is to have a portion of the funds that are designated for housing set aside for the trust to be able to tap into, as we have already. We're gonna be down to 100, so that we'll have more, so if people come in for a project, we'd have the ability to consider larger ask if the projects are acceptable to us and we feel it's necessary.
So if I could restate your ask.
Please do.
No, in my understanding is if we could move forward with a process whereby we could get, because this has to go to town meeting, a portion of that reserve earmarked for the Affordable Housing Trust, so that we could draw down on it as needed, as opposed to us having to go to town meeting every time as well. I'm trying to restate, that would then facilitate us aggressively pursuing new
How
applications.
much money do you think gets put in that reserve every year?
Which reserve? Oh,
Affordable Housing
10%.
Trust, 10%
So
of
if
what?
we get $1.2 million, it'd be 10% of that, right? So that'd be,
120,000.
yeah, about 120, 150,000.
Okay, and you want all of it or part of it? What do you want, half of it? Then that's not a whole lot of money.
On a rolling basis? No,
60,000,
right now,
trying
I'm
to
just, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
finish
No, I was just trying to state, so I was going back to the original purpose of the law, which was to create a vehicle to more quickly distribute affordable, that's all, and
so if I'm going to, so you would like the town to say, I am gonna take 10% of my expected CPA funds and put 5% of that, 50% of that into CPC and 50% of that 10% into Affordable Housing Trust.
which is, by the way, what the state law anticipated.
What 10% period?
No, 10% is what the state, I can do
That's a minimal.
anything more, I can do, but that is 10% is my minimum.
Minimal.
And right now, to be honest with you, with the 30% 35% required set aside and the debts we have, we probably have less than 300,000 available as new income for CPC, which is not a lot of money.
120,000 of that is designated for the 3 areas
What,
above, right? Each area. Out of that 300,000,
it
are you taking
depends.
that 10% out already?
I'm
for
taking my
each?
10% out.
So it's
already.
30% you're taking out
Yeah.
in that
I've
already?
taken 35% out of that
Okay.
number already.
Okay,
Then we have the debts for the golf course is still a debt. We've paid off the debt for Tremont
2
Nail.
million on that, right?
Hmm?
Was $1 million up of cash and $1 million debt, or?
I can't remember, not off the top of my head,
million from
I
the
don't think
town.
we put $1 million out, I think it all went to loan.
Oh, okay.
But
So-
but we have our funds, I can't come back to town meeting and say, I want more money, but I haven't used what you've given me.
Which comes back to the thing that one of you said, which is you're not getting enough applicants. And I think that's the root of what I was trying to get at earlier. We have an idea, we have a concept, we have a vehicle. We don't have any customers. That's where I'm
But
And-
we're
being
getting,
hung
we're
up.
getting them slowly, but if we're down to 100 through the CPC and the funds that we have, then that can disappear quickly and we can end up with nothing.
Mhm.
One project can come in and we can commit to it and it could be gone.
right.
So then we have to wait another 6 or 9 months to refund it. But if it's already been approved and it's set aside, then we can
so
count on those funds being there in order to facilitate the asks if we approve a project.
So again, if I could rephrase, it's a chicken or the egg problem. Do we need?
Well, if you wanna call it that.
No, do we want the funds and then go look for applicants, or do we wanna have a queue of applicants? Which is always would be better if we had a queue of applicants we could go present.
Right now, we only have 2 in the queue other than Steve,
Well, Steve has two more in the queue.
but that they've not, so we have the one in West Wareham.
Maybe, yeah.
We have the one at 801 Main Street.
That's two,
We have
4.
Everett School.
5. Oh no, that's one of Steve's.
That's 3, Everett School.
No,
Yeah.
Steve also has,
So what is his other one?
So
20 Depot Street.
801 was how much? 60,000?
801, I can't they have it,
60,000.
was it
I
60,000?
think so.
And you have 50, so we're at 100, so we've usually only have 40,000 bucks left in that 150 now.
Right.
So that's why we need more money.
I've listed the ones in the queue. I have to update it for some of them in our sheet. I'll update that for the next meeting.
So
I
that's
had
kind of
a-
that's the story behind the story.
Then you have 56,000 for phase 2 of Woodland Cove.
Yes.
If we approve that.
If we
once
approve
it's
it, so
done and
there's-
the
Wait,
conditions.
excuse me, we've already approved that. Well, I can't say we've approved it because
No.
they haven't,
There's no
we
application,
approved the concept.
right. So-
So
We
then
don't
it
have
comes
enough-
back to the, instead of giving 50 people 1,000, you give one person 50. Which is more beneficial to the concept of whatever it is that we're trying to do? I think, I don't know the answer to that from my perspective, but I think that's an interesting question.
Well, yeah.
For $50,000, we get 6. Or, and we got nothing.
It's
from
6,
the-
it's 50 plus 150, so 200.
It's 6 units for the whatever, but for $50,000, we got nothing. We got nothing in terms of our SHI.
Well, from who?
We did not.
The town.
The town did not benefit with an SHI restriction by doing that.
Well, can I ask a
No,
clarifying
that is deed
question?
restricted.
The 50,000?
Yes, we did require them, but I think that was gonna be deed restricted anyway.
I'm talking about
Cove.
Woodland Cove.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
we required-
40B, so it had to be deed restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
all of them
those,
are.
so the 50 people, the 50
Units
units,
had to be deed restricted.
but they were anyway.
That,
And so
now,
was
that's,
Littleton Drive, and we gave them $350,000 out of town
all
money,
right, but
correct?
I am agreeing with you,
Yeah.
yes, it didn't create a net increment,
That's,
but
that's
we,
what I'm trying to say,
but
Carl.
we did not give money to non-affordable units either.
Okay,
They had to be income qualified.
okay, but it wasn't creating new
$1,000
units,
it was
which is
up
what
to.
he's doing.
Correct.
Okay, that's,
I'm agree, now I'm
what's the-
agreeing,
what's
but
the
we
You see what I'm
did,
saying?
we did require them to get the SHI, it took a lot to get the SHI process
Right.
done,
right,
because it wasn't done.
Nobody had done it with either the
Right.
town or the
Right.
developer.
But
so,
you're right, it did not create net new.
that's right, and that's I think that's what a CPC ask at a town meeting would be asked.
What?
To create net new.
Thank you.
Yes, the 150,000, that article said it had to be new.
Oh, so we can't give an individual a grant who needs funding, and already lives in a home, to put it on our SHI.
We could, using our 150,000 of 149,000 we have in our account.
Or any funds that we have available which fall under
Well, but it-
No.
fall under the guide of what's a usable, a permitted usable,
Affordable housing,
permitted use for,
no, Affordable Housing Trust has 149,000.
I
We
understand.
can use that to give somebody money to deed restrict their house on repair.
Or we could also do
But the 150 from CPC cannot be used for that,
Unless it
Why
is
not?
vehicle.
because the article said new.
But if, now a clarifying question. If we did give a grant to an existing house that was not affordable and they deed restricted it, that would be net new on the affordable list. So what
That's
did,
correct.
That won't, Read the article,
No,
it
no.
won't wash.
Okay,
I'll read the article.
so we need to be clear on our intent going forward.
And how the article was presented.
How the article was presented.
No, I'm saying go for it, we can't
Or a
fix
new
the
one.
past.
No, we can't fit, okay,
Okay.
so,
So,
but
So
I
I'm
would,
coming back to the question that Carl has elucidated for me, which is the net new. Which is a better investment? Which achieves the goal, which is net new?
You're correct, we have to be cognizant of that, but there's also sort of an underlying goal to help people in need.
that's why it's called
Right.
affordable housing.
Right. But
We have to look at our charter and be sure
Yeah.
and the law.
if that's the intent, net new, then
Well, it's a combination of everything in that new, yeah. Or how about just to keep them on SHI? So it wouldn't be net new, but it wouldn't be a loss of them coming off the
So it's a good
SHI.
question philosophically, we need to
Huh?
resolve in terms of our intent.
yeah, and
We have
the
good
law and
understanding.
what's written down.
Correct, yes, Mrs. Slavin. Look,
I move that the town vote to appropriate from the Community Preservation Undesignated Fund or any other monies available in the sum of $150,000 as a grant to the Wareham Affordable Housing Trust to be used by the trust to provide for the creating and preservation of affordable housing.
Creating and preservation.
Creating and
Preservation.
preservation of
Okay.
affordable
So
housing.
it doesn't say net new in there
No,
anywhere,
creating
Well,
and
creating is
preservation.
new.
or preservation.
But preservation, you have to have had something that's there.
And then
So
we're
you're
able
either
to
creating
preserve
it
it as
or you're
affordable.
preserving
Alright, but let's go back to creating.
But
If we
giving them
create-
$1,000 wasn't preserving it. The money that was given to Woodland Cove didn't preserve anything,
Okay,
because they were already.
oh, keep in mind that money came out of
All I'm saying is, I
an
think,
old-
I
I'm
think,
sorry.
I
on
understand
the
your
topic.
importance of being precise.
right, and,
Topic
And
is
then one other thing to remember, the grant we
funding
gave to,
request for CPC. We're not
Just-
talking about any specific project. Is we're requesting funding for the upcoming fiscal year, which would start July 1, correct? Okay.
Which means that has to go in spring, not special spring,
or we could get it in the fall, we're not so
or we could do it in the fall.
jammed.
Well,
But Judith,
I
one
know
other
that-
point,
Go ahead, sir.
I just wanna finish, the article that Sandy read was not the article that funded Woodland Cove. So the money that funded Woodland Cove was granted in
2010.
it was a long time ago,
2010,
yeah, I
long-
know,
Anyhow,
I know,
um,
yeah.
all right, we've had some good conversation here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna move on.
We can go back.
Catherine Lacy is now online here, and she's with Mass Housing, could you let her in, please? She's with Mass Housing Partnership. I don't know if she has her, everything on. That would be talk and video. Hello, Catherine. Katie, can you hear us?
I can. Do you want to see me too?
Well, you're gonna have to put things up on the screen anyhow. You said you were gonna do a PowerPoint.
Yeah, but you didn't enable the camera, just the audio.
This young man over here will do that for us, our technician.
All right, in the meantime, could you spell your name for the record, please?
Sure.
Catherine Lacy, L-A-C-Y.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Are you gonna do it? So that's the correct spelling?
Go
It's on
ahead,
the
Catherine.
screen.
I don't,
Oh,
Katie Lacy.
'Cause you muted her too. There you go.
Hello.
There you go. Go ahead, Carl.
It's okay, I got it.
You got it? He was gonna ask you to spell your name.
Okay, Katylacy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Wanna just tell us a little about yourself and then,
Sure. I
Roll
mean,
into
you
your
guys asked me
PowerPoint.
to come.
yeah.
Why don't you? I'm senior planner here at MHP, with the community assistance team, and Jim reached out for some help with learning a little bit about inclusionary zoning.
Yeah.
That is a goal that your trust is thinking about.
Yes, and it'd be good for everybody to have some insight from yourself as a professional, and you've worked with many towns already, I believe.
Yeah, so one thing I did want to
Can I-
know is, are
Can I
you,
just give Katie a piece of information? So regarding inclusionary zoning, we have just received a grant and we are going to rewrite all of our zoning bylaws. So now is the time to begin thinking about how we can include inclusionary zoning.
That's,
excellent.
so, go ahead, please, Katie.
No, this is a conversation. I'm not
Yeah,
here, I'm whatever
No.
you guys need. So one thing, so that's great to know, because that was gonna be my next question. So is that being run through the planning board, or is there a zoning bylaw committee,
It's
or?
the
or what
planning
have you?
board, the planning board is running that, and I'm chair of the planning board, so.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, good. Because I've worked with a lot of trusts who wanna, they put in a lot of energy to doing a bylaw, and then they realize midway through, they can't put forth a bylaw. It has to come forward through the planning board or
Okay.
whatever. So you're on that, you're on the planning board, never mind that.
yeah, so I'll talk with Kyle on this after, on this. But I understand it a little different, but please, if you could, just so you know, Kyle's on the, planning board, he's the chair, Mrs. Slavin, she's on, a bunch of committees, and she's also CPC, she's the treasurer of CPC, and water pollution and,
Which is also
land
chair of the
planning.
Conservation Commission.
Also Conservation Commission, and she's on the Affordable Housing. And then, Miss Whiteside, who stepped out, she's the chair of the select board, and we're one member short, and I'm just, I'm on this board and also the, Housing Authority. So,
Sick. Okay, I do just have a quick slideshow we'll run through. Hold on, gotta get
Yeah.
rid of that. Here we go. Just to sort of talk through a little bit about inclusionary zoning before you get going. So can you see that?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
can you pop that up a little
So-
bit more?
I'm sorry, what?
Not you.
I'm talking
Oh,
to a
okay.
technician.
So just quickly, we're MHP, we're created in 1985 with a goal to increase the supply of affordable housing. I'm with the community assistance team, but I will say at its heart, MHP is a lending agency, kind of like Mass Housing or MHFA. We finance permanent affordable rental housing. We also have a really great first-time homebuyers program, the One Mortgage program, and then we do research on housing data and community assistance. We try to help out communities trying to think through, next steps on how to maybe build some more affordable housing. So I'm sure you all know this, but I just start with sort of 101. What is inclusionary zoning? So it's zoning provisions that incentivize or require a certain percentage of homes be affordable. It's a very popular tool, but the whole idea is you're getting the private market to pay for your affordable housing. So you're not getting, it's not like a housing authority or a subsidy. The money is coming out of from the developer. They're subsidizing it. It has been upheld by courts in the US, though I think at this point we can say applying it to just bread and butter subdivisions has been determined not legal. So I wouldn't advise you do that. And that's because subdivision control law is different than zoning.
So what's a bread and
and I put
butter subdivision, when you say bread and butter subdivision? What does
Just
that?
plain old, so the subdivision of land, to create a subdivision is a as of right
Oh.
way of dividing
So,
up land.
When you say bread and
And-
butter, you just mean a subdivision.
Yes, as opposed to something you're permitting with a special permit or through zoning. So, because you have two parts of the law, there's section 53, I mean, I don't want to get all in the weeds, but subdivision control law and zoning law are separate. Inclusionary zoning is a zoning thing, so it can't apply to subdivisions, which are basically just the division of land. It doesn't talk about what goes on those lots. So I don't want to get caught up in that, if that's okay. It's so weird because I can't see you. So I wish I could sort of see your faces and stuff. So the reason I put these eggs out is that it really is sort of a peculiar model. I mean, it works, but basically it's one of the few times, like if you went to the store and said, I want a dozen eggs, but 3 of them I'm only going to pay you half their value and the rest I'll pay full value, they'd say no. And so it is something we're actually asking the private market to do for us. And some, you can say, oh, developers make all sorts of money, and some do, but a lot don't, particularly the smaller ones.
So if I might ask, I looked at a couple of towns, Marion, Massachusetts, and Mansfield, subdivisions greater than 6 or 8, some towns say 8. There's a requirement,
Yeah,
there's a requirement
yeah,
that
Yeah.
one be affordable over 12 or whatever, 2,
yeah.
depending. So how is it that when you're saying, zoning?
I'm just saying that in the last couple, so many communities did that, including the one I worked in. They had their inclusionary zoning apply to everything, special permit projects, multifamily housing, subdivisions. I'm just saying at this point in time, a developer can challenge that in court
They can,
on a subdivision. Yeah.
anything could be challenged.
If it's a cluster subdivision or something like that, but I really would love to just get through this and then,
All right, go
and
ahead,
then
please.
do some questions, just because I think it'll make sense. And plus this way I won't get all
All right.
bogged up. So as you know, what is affordable, sometimes doesn't seem that affordable. You guys are in the Boston, Cambridge, Quincy
Go figure.
MHFA. I was so surprised.
We got 2.
Yeah. So the average median income in 2024 is a whopping $148,900.
100 and what? 48
Correct.
for a
It's
single person or family?
household.
Oh, okay. That's a little
Household.
better.
Yeah. So 80%, if you're concerned about having these units count on the subsidized housing inventory, 80% AMI for a family of 4 would be $130,250, which ain't too shabby, right? I mean,
Geez, no.
but that's, on the other hand, I think what we're dealing with now is just a lot of income discrepancy going on. So these numbers, but this is, you can go lower, but this is, if you wanted to count on the subsidizing housing inventory, the income cutoff for a family of 4 would be no more than $130,250. And then you can see up top, and I'm sorry I cut the columns off, but if you go 1, 2, 3, 4 over, that's the 3-bedroom rent.
Which slide are you on?
I'm the same slide.
No, we're just seeing your header page.
Yeah, we haven't seen slide 4.
That's terrible.
We see it on the left side of your screen in miniature.
Yeah, but it's not.
Hasn't been, yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's move me.
She's talking about eggs.
You're just
and I'm
seeing
wondering why
that.
she's talking
Okay.
about eggs, yeah.
You
Let
can't
me
see that?
stop
Yeah.
sharing and see if I can fix this. Oh, I'm on a computer I'm not accustomed to here, so.
I understand.
Okie dokie. How about that?
There you go.
Got it.
Big?
Excellent.
Okay, so I'm so sorry about that. Oh, yeah, so if we go over here, that 2,931 is considered an affordable rent for a 3-bedroom house. So,
Affordable rent?
yeah. I mean, again, we don't write the rules, right? This is just because these are all come from
I
HUD.
understand that.
So we can walk through these a little bit, but
Yeah, please.
So in an inclusionary zoning bylaw, as I read a lot of these, you know, you're making some decisions. If it's mandatory or incentive, what are the compliance alternatives you want to use? So you can do payment in lieu, you can do offsite units. I was listening to your earlier discussion, and payment in lieu, I used to be really down on it, but if you have a trust established, it's actually a wonderful way for a trust to get some income that, you know, you can spend with slightly more agility than a town meeting vote, right? So that has been very helpful to many trusts. And then you look at, and we can just walk through a typical bylaw later. Applicability, the type of development, the geographic coverage, minimum size threshold. So it says it starts at like 6 units, 8 units, 10 units, you know, when does it kick in? And then you get the decision you have to make about affordability, like we want 10% affordable at 80% area median income, or we want 7% at 50% median income. So those are the components of a bylaw. And then the duration, how long are they affordable? Usually people want them in perpetuity, so that's forever. Okay, so just a quick, you all know this is just inherent, but it's kind of helpful. So one of the big problems with inclusionary zoning we found, and many people have them, is that nothing ever gets built. And so basically, you know, it all boils down to the project income has to exceed the project costs. That's when it's feasible. And there's only a couple ways to enable greater affordability, and that's largely through cost offsets. So you can either increase the density of the project, you can provide subsidy for the affordable units, like through your CPC or through, but you know, you can lower the price you can subsidize them. Another thing is you can reduce project costs. So for units where you want this to apply, you can say, okay, you have less parking, we're not going to charge you building permit fees, let's just say, or tax relief. Different towns, not a lot of towns have gone this route, but this has proved to be effective. And so I'm drawing all this. So I worked on this massive survey of we were contracted by a federal agency, a national agency called Grounded Solutions. That's what it was called. They were doing a national study of inclusionary zoning. And they were doing the whole state, the whole nation, basically. But when they got to Massachusetts, they were like, what? 351 municipalities, each with their own zoning bylaw. Our head's going to explode. So they hired us to do it. This is very high level data we collected. But basically, the shocking thing we found is we have a ton of many communities here. And this number is higher now, have inclusionary zoning bylaws. We have some really per jurisdiction, we have more than any other state in the country, and we produce less than any other state in the country. And basically 60% of the communities with some form of inclusionary zoning in 2020 hadn't produced a single unit. And it was a lot because of what I was talking about before. It's configured so it's just not feasible. So the lessons we learned are, it only creates affordable units where units are being created. This seems like a no-brainer, but I'll work with towns like out in Western Mass where there is no development occurring. And if you have an inclusionary zoning bylaw, you know, 0% of 0, 10% of 0 is 0, right? So you're still not going to get anything. It really works best when it's tailored to a specific community. Like I know you have a seasonal homes thing going on, or some communities have sewer, some don't. It really only works when it works for the developer. Not that you should cave, but it doesn't work if they're just not going to do it if it doesn't work for them. And it works best with really strong affordability restrictions when you identify in advance who will be in charge of the monitoring, tracking, and compliance. And then the final thing is it's one of the greatest tools, but it's pretty unlikely to stop 40B. It's never gonna keep pace with your denominator, the number of units being built. So it's one of many tools you can use to build up your subsidized housing inventory. And then I did just want to, there's a misspelling there. I did just want to say that it looks like Wareham, sorry, this is so small, has a nice assortment, but basically the really large lot sizes, 130,000 square feet, 60,000 square feet, even 20,000 square feet, are one of the big challenges with inclusionary zoning because land is so expensive that until you get into over here, and I didn't get a chance to glimpse at your zoning map, you know, this 5,000 square foot, 7,000, that is where it might work. It's very unlikely to stick in a district with 130,000 square foot lots. So if I may, if you're bored, we can stop right there, but I did just want to talk to you a little bit about inclusionary units and the SHI, because a lot of people want inclusionary zoning so they can build their SHI.
Or
So
stay
if
pace
you want to
with,
talk about that, we can.
just to stay pace with the development. You're not gonna gain a lot, but if you can just stay at
Yeah,
pace with the development.
Say that again?
Stay at pace with the development. So if you put in 56 units, you ask a developer to give you 5.6 units for the
Yeah.
10%. And they just say, no, we don't want them. So is there a tool that we could utilize to do that? So say if it's a special permit on the 56 units.
It's a good tool. It's a good tool. You should think about it. I'm just saying it doesn't.
It's one of the tools in your toolkit.
It's one of the tools in your
Right.
time. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
So
that's
one thing I did just want to talk about, because I think it's good for communities to kind of envision the outcome, right? You know, you're going to adopt this zoning, that's great, but what's going to happen? So you can definitely put them on the subsidized housing inventory, but they have to get approved as local action units. They're approved by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. But basically, I always like to remind people, these are also just not units. These are homes for people in your community and out, for people that are going to live there. So it's important to remember that, I think, in all of this. You know, you're not just doing this to sort of block and tackle against 40B. You want to do something good in your community, right, and create some affordable homes. So what is a local action unit? And I'll keep this really quick. Basically, it is a little complicated. The work is largely done by the developer in coordination with the town, but they have to fill out an application, send it to the state. It must meet LIP design and construction standards. They're subject to household income and cost restrictions. Sorry about all the alphabet soup. They do require an affirmative fair housing marketing plan and lottery. And they're subject to a regulatory agreement and deed restriction. And ongoing monitoring technically is the municipality's responsibility. Though if it's a rental development, the property manager typically does that. And then many communities hire someone to sort of help them out with that because it's kind of a lot of work. For instance, if you create 10 deed restricted homeownership units, who is going to check every year that the person who bought it didn't rent it to someone or sell it at market rate? You know, you have to have someone kind of keeping an eye on the store. So I'm going to stop there.
So
Let's just see what else we have here. I just have some.
that was very
I
helpful.
just have some pictures of projects with inclusionary units. But one thing you're going to note is the scale, right? It's frequently, this is maybe something, this is one open space residential development. A lot of communities have that where you cluster the development, but even this, there's 22 units.
We have
There's
cluster
2
development. We have cluster
affordable
development.
units
We have
in
that.
this.
So I just wanted to make an observation. Your presentation was very clear and very informative. However, here we again have an objective to do a good thing, and we erect barrier after barrier after barrier, cost to the developer, procedural cost, administrative overhead, who can afford to do this?
Yeah. Well, you mean what kind of town?
Yeah, we don't have the staff to monitor or administer this stuff.
Yeah. Well, many communities, it's such a good question. It's not that expensive. You know, many
We
communities.
can't even do all the things we have to do now, let alone adding.
So that's,
Okay,
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But I thank you,
That
your
might be a
presentation
way.
was great. I'm just giving you our frustration.
No, it's super frustrating. It's super frustrating. But I will say that a lot of communities, actually more and more, these regional housing services organizations where towns
yeah,
cluster together, like there's 12 up in the, western suburbs. Of course, they have all sorts of money. There's another one north up in Reading, and they basically pool their funding and do what's called a regional housing services. So basically, it's like 12 communities sharing one person at a pretty minimal cost to just keep track of all their units, tell them where they're at. I don't know if one exists in your region, but there should be one.
We
I
got a
think they're
letter,
gonna be-
we got a letter today from someone who wants to form such a thing.
and,
in
Oh, wow,
southeastern
who?
Massachusetts, yeah.
and also,
Who is it?
Michael Gagney from New Bedford and Dartmouth. So it would include New Bedford, Dartmouth, and Wareham. We got an invitation
know
from our
him.
town administrator.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Because usually it's not a big lift, and there's all sorts of models for this. That's great news.
and
Are they
plus-
working through SERPED?
Well, that's what I was gonna
Through
say.
the South-
Serped did mention, or did look into doing this about 4 or 5 years ago,
Well, right, we gave them a lot of money to see if they could set it up in
but
your
it never
region. And then,
came to fruition, right?
well, the guy working on it left for another job.
So this might be the method
Yeah.
that,
So we just got this letter today,
Bizarre.
in the town.
That's great.
2 days ago, about 4 days ago, so
Yep.
it's on the agenda. So,
Great.
yeah,
yeah.
So I don't want to give you all sorts of, but in terms of like the application to the state is free, the developer does that work. Again, if the inclusionary zoning project is a rental development, you really don't have to do much of anything. The developer has to do that. They have to, do the cost certification. Let's say there's 3 of the units go to affordable families. It's up to the property manager to do that. The sticky part comes with homeownership inclusionary zoning, where it's a little tricky, I mean, you don't have to do much, but you do have to make sure it's the same family living in it. And sometimes they get confused and like put a big addition on, and you have to keep an eye on homeownership units for sure.
okay. I know on some of our SHI listed homes which are owned, that an outside agency does it for a fee, but they collect theirs at the end when the home is sold.
Yep. Yep. No, it's almost like a real estate. I used to do this.
Yeah,
I ran the homeownership monitoring program. It's almost like they get a percentage of the sale.
it's small.
And yeah, I mean, there are technically each affordable housing development has an assigned monitoring agent. It's sometimes tricky to find out who they are. But again, the developer pays that fee. So don't get too worried about the expense.
No, so on a development, the homes, they could be smaller, but not look different. They don't have to have as expensive finishings inside, correct?
Yeah.
So you can reduce the cost
keep in
of the
mind, though-
build for the individual house that goes on the, as an affordable, the developer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do want to remind you is that for home ownership units, the household that gets the house has to qualify at the requisite income level. But they can win the lottery the next day or go to medical school and become a doctor, whatever. There's no ongoing income certification. It's a optimistic first-time homebuyers program. The sticking point is when they turn to sell the house, they still have to sell it at an affordable price. So they're not building up equity the way a typical market rate home would be. But, you know, I think when I ran the monitoring program, we used to get calls like, they got a Mercedes. How come they're in that house? And it's like, yeah, we want them to live long and prosper, right? That's the whole point of the program. You get, it's a step up, right? But then you have to turn around and repay the favor and sell it at an affordable home when
Right.
at a price when you leave.
Yeah. Any questions from,
Can we get a copy of the presentation?
Yeah, I was just gonna
yeah,
ask.
could you send us a
Sure.
copy of your slide presentation?
The other thing is, I don't want to be like cutesy, you know, I'm always like, I'm not just going to give you a model. There are samples we can walk through. They're all exactly the same. You know, you have where does it apply? What kind of development does it apply to? We can walk through one if you want. These things are not complicated to write. I guess I just want communities to be eyes wide open when they go into it, that they're often not that productive, that they don't result in the kind of, you know,
Well, we're
production of affordable
under
units.
We're under some pressure by developers here because we do have quite a bit of land and the cost is reasonable compared to the real Boston market, we like to call it. We're in between the Cape and New Bedford, and our actual median income is way lower than what.
Oh, I know.
You know, if you look at
can't
the
stand
census,
the
so
Greater Boston median income area includes like Newton and Brookline, and it also includes Pepperell and Wareham, and it just doesn't make any sense.
I didn't
But
know
that is
Either.
the way it is.
Pepperell? Can you put it on a map?
Yeah, but I mean, the Cape, I mean, Barnstable County's like right there, and Bristol County's right here. And their area median incomes are down here compared to ours, so the affordability is reduced too.
Yeah, well, you
what
know, the
rates
market,
are for the- We're just kind of stuck where we are, and it's good and bad.
yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. You're not alone. And I think it's a good idea to have an inclusionary component in your bylaw.
This is good background for me as we enter into a phase of
In us,
rewriting our
Yeah.
bylaws, so.
The other thing a lot of communities may not be aware of that trip them up is, you know, many communities are interested in local preference. So keeping it for the people of Wareham and blah, blah, blah. And that's great, and you can definitely request that. For rental or home ownership units, up to 70% of them can go to residents. It's rare that 70% of them, it's rare that the residents want to go in them. It almost never works out. But the big sticking point is that only happens the first time they're sold. So it's the initial sale goes to a local resident. After that, it's open to anyone who wants to buy it or move to your community or whatever, similar with the rental projects. So it's not creating a permanent pool of housing for the people of Wareham. Of course, the people of Wareham can buy it. They just won't be given a
Right.
preference.
so, any questions, Mrs. Slavin?
I'm fine, thank you.
Mrs. White,
No,
Ms.
thank
Whiteside,
you.
no?
Other than,
Katie, thank you for your time.
I'll keep this in mind as we go
Yeah, we'll
forward.
talk.
And I'll send you, which one's Jim?
I am. Can you
Hi,
see me?
Jim.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna send you, we just did a complete bread and butter inclusionary zoning bylaw in 2018 for Tingsboro that I think it's just the basic parts. So you
So
could
it's a
take
model,
it.
we use model bylaws all the time to go.
Yeah. There's
That's the best way to
there's
go
plenty
because
of
they've-
models, so
they've
I'll
already
send you
been-
that.
They've already been reviewed and approved by the Attorney General.
Right, they've been reviewed,
Instead
they've
of
been
trying to
approved,
make a new model your own.
but keep in mind, they've been they've been approved, whatever, they haven't produced anything. So
No.
this is where you need to, you gotta get that, I would recommend at some point, you may wanna talk to a developer. Seriously, I know people think they're the enemy, but like.
Mr.
would
Boschman,
this
who is
work?
sitting here, is one of our best developers, so.
Yay!
Yeah, he's
So,
doing.
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
you'd be a real asset as they're crafting this in terms of what is feasible.
We tried, like, I tried, and the planning board tried, we actually did an ask of a developer who was doing, cluster development. And so he puts in a mile less of, roadway if they do affordability units. It was like, want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So we got the
Yeah.
cluster in, which is good, open space. And by doing it, you put in 1 mile less of roadway, which is a huge cost savings on a development. But there was no give, just, that was my perception anyhow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to keep you guys. It
Well,
looks like
thank
some
you.
people want to get on their way. So I'm going to sign off, but keep in touch.
Thank you,
Thank you.
and you'll
Happy to
forward
help
that
in the
to me,
future.
and I'll ship the presentation and I'll send it to
Okay,
you.
will do.
Jim,
you.
Have a
have
good
all
day,
her
you
con-
guys.
you have
Stay
all her
warm.
contact details?
I do.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you very much. All right, that was interesting.
I learned a lot.
I have to
Huh?
leave, and my druther would be, we should think about this really strongly. But I know it's not on the agenda, but
No,
Derek,
I mean, we can-
Derek
Comes in
did
under
call me.
48 hours.
Derek asked me to bring it forward
It's-
last night because he
it's-
got it yesterday.
No, but I meant, we have under 48
Oh,
hours.
okay.
It's
Items
something we
not
can
reasonably
consider.
expected.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
need to look
looks,
at, but,
looks like a good idea.
I think
specifics.
you should reach out to this gentleman and
And I think there's another regional planning office that does it. It might be
wait,
Mansfield.
you change gears. I'm recommending that either
All
one of
right,
us reach out
I
to this
will.
gentleman.
I
and
agree.
I'll talk with Mr. Sullivan and then see.
Get more information.
All right.
Next door, right? The Bedford Downs.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Mrs.
I'm
Miss
sorry,
Whiteside
yeah.
has to leave. She's got another,
Yep. Sorry
And I
about
have
that.
I have a 10:30 drop dead.
okay, so let's kind of move through. Thank you. We still
Thanks.
have a quorum.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you.
Housing rehabilitation, funding request, Woodland Cove. Done.
Thank
Just gotta
you.
submit the paperwork to Mrs. Slavin. Everything's signed, sealed, delivered.
If you were to give me the pay request today, I can submit it to CPC on Wednesday.
Oh.
Okay,
Congratulations.
Well done.
thank you. Well, you know, I just did what they asked. And, you know, Mr. Bowen reviewed the changes, just minor changes to the document that Carl and I guess Woodland Clover created, very nice document. Basically just put in WC owner LLC in place of Wingate, but did leave Wingate in there in places where it was appropriate. Mr. Bowen reviewed it, fine to form, whatever that means. And Judith
so-
Lazan said, we've approved this.
Okay, so I need your document requesting the payment to Wingate. That's, okay, that's not the form.
It's the one you gave me, request for payment.
Who gave you that?
You did.
No, that's not the form.
And it's not to Wingate, it's to WC owner LLC.
Do I have a W-9 for them? I had a
I
W-9
have the
for Wingate.
W-9.
Huh?
I have a W-9,
For what company?
WC LLC. I can send you that.
Which is a new company. It's not Dakota Partners anymore.
It's Woodland Cove.
Yeah.
That's
Dakota
the owner,
Partners-
that's who
Dakota Partners
the-
sold it.
the checks are
some-
made out to
somewhere. I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
a change since the start.
for the rents. And that's what was required by the town accountant and the town administrator.
This is what I created for a payment request that you send to me to send to CPC.
Yeah, hold on.
I'm gonna take a
What's it?
pit stop. Are you guys?
Go ahead, what's the difference?
Oh.
Shuffle papers.
I just filled it in,
Okay, thank you. So what's attached?
and I need to give you the rest of the
Okay,
documentation.
you know what, if you put it in the CPC box
I'll do
today,
that.
I can pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I have
I'm with you.
a meeting Wednesday night, so I can get everything signed by
Okay.
CPC and submit it to accounting.
So, seeing, there's no vote's gonna be taken, so Woodland Cove's all set. Mr. Boschman,
Yes, sir.
anything new?
Today's Tuesday.
The big no.
But the
Anything,
issue with the downstairs,
but that's resolved. We got the information for the,
okay, so we don't have an issue with,
No, we're just waiting
building.
on the bank and the
State.
state one more time.
That's it, so everything's,
no,
everything's
everything's
good.
moving. Yeah,
Okay.
ground's frozen, so we're okay.
And thanks for coming and listening to us.
Yeah,
It's,
so thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
did I see you with a plow in your truck the other day?
If you saw me, yes, sir.
Yeah.
so you're, is it affordable restricted yet?
As soon as
Yeah.
the state gives
So
them.
Yes.
you
Yeah, everything's in
need some
place.
paperwork to get to CPC.
Yeah, Lynn, I mentioned that to Lynn, and she said we were waiting for one more thing from the state, and then she would forward everything over to you.
Yeah,
To CPC.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
I think both branches.
yeah,
well, he needs to sign it from here
right.
for our 50,000.
Okay.
Which we will take out of CPC's.
Yeah,
Why?
right, so that,
Yeah.
that's where.
Yeah, cause I had
Yeah.
mentioned it to Lynn probably 2 weeks ago, and she said, no, we're waiting for one more piece of paper
Okay,
from the state, and then we'll forward it to the town.
So,
But we're good with downstairs, so that
Good.
everything went through that way.
excellent,
Yep, thank you guys.
just a hiccup.
Yeah, it's a bump in the road, that's all. Everything's good.
I didn't know if we'd be seeing, is it Jeanette from 801 Main?
Nanette.
Lynette.
Nanette.
Nanette, right, Perkins. We didn't. She's not here, so no update. We did not receive the grant from Mass Housing Partnership. 3 others, two cities and a town did. Similar to what our request was, but, you know, at least we give, and they'll give us free advice anyhow. The woman who was just here.
Yeah, she's very
Catherine,
nice.
Yeah, and they have people who are experts in different areas. So it's a good group to get to know, you know.
Absolutely.
Okay, member comments, updates, discussion.
Okay, yes, I just wanted to let everybody know that one of the projects that came before us is going to ZBA tomorrow night for a variance.
that's the one in West Wareham?
Yeah, I'm just gonna give you the address.
4 West Street, no.
That's not Cranberry Manor,
Yes,
too,
yeah,
Cranberry
Cranberry
Manor
Manor.
too.
And you did discuss it at the planning board meeting last
Yeah,
night.
we had no comment. We thought it was a good project.
Thank you.
Neighborhood Housing Services of the South Shore, doing work as Neighbor Works Housing Solutions, 220 Cranberry Highway. It's the 40-bedroom.
41 bedroom units
Yeah.
for seniors.
Yes.
And I think it's appropriately located where it already has the family development in the front. It's in between that and the highway out back. And it'll be good.
But they haven't given us a document yet.
They have not given us anything.
All
They're-
all they wanted was a letter of support and that was
Which is
done.
already
We
done.
did that, yes.
It's been sent in.
Right, they got it from this board, the selectmen, and now they're present.
Yeah,
Right, their presentation tonight with who?
No, they gotta go for variance to ZBA
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night, I think.
it's a
What
start of a
about-
process.
What about the 4 West?
I have no update on them.
Crickets, right? Nothing here.
So I have 4 West, 801 Main Street, 15 Gibbs, Crossroads. Haven't heard anything on Crossroads in a long time.
No.
What else? You got 20 Depot in it.
And
I don't
20
have a folder for 20 Depot.
Steve has brought 20
Crossroads.
Depot.
Oh, you mean up there on Sandwich Road?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 Depot. We got a letter of support from the side.
I know, but I don't have a folder on them.
Okay.
I tried to put folders in, so I have,
You got a letter of support, right?
yes.
That was.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
have,
in fact,
oh,
we
wait,
sent the
wait,
paperwork
That was
over.
I
pretty
do
late,
have
so.
Chapel Lane and Depot Street, so they're all in the same folder.
Okay. That's right, that's good. I knew you had.
And then Woodland Cove.
So any other comments or discussion, Mrs. Slade? Anything?
Nope,
Okay.
nope, just I need that paperwork in the CPC
gonna-
slot.
You know, I left part of it at home and I was trying to do wet signatures and some of them there were and some weren't. Any other business under 48 hours, yes or no?
No, could we just make sure the final package, I get a copy of the
I
final
will-
package, and then
I will do that.
yeah, I keep that, like Miss Slavin.
No, Ben, I thank you because I'll have it electronically and
Well, that's all I want
Could
is
be a good thing.
electronic.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't,
I don't need paper.
No,
I don't understand it, so I don't.
This
Yeah,
is
no,
for
that's good.
her, so
Yes.
when she,
As long as I get an electronic
Yeah.
copy, I will file it in the project folder.
so I guess we're good. Can we get a motion to adjourn?
We adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn at
From Mrs.
10:21.
Slavin,
Oh,
seconded by
at 10:21,
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz.
yes.
All in favor, yes, yes,
Yes,
yes. Thank you. Goodbye all.
Our next meeting,
Yeah, February 11th, or March 11th.